Welcome back to Bison Overtime. I'm Malik Mitchell.
And I'm Dash Mentzel.
We have some sports updates to give you guys today, so stay tuned. Starting with football, as always, this previous Saturday they played Missouri State in the Fargo Dome and won 27-20. Now, I didn't give my prediction, but I knew this wasn't going to be an easy game. You predicted it was going to be an easy game, right?
I predicted 31-10. I just thought that maybe, I figured our defense would give them a hard time, and I figured that our offense, their defense had given up a lot of points this year, so I figured maybe our offense would be able to score a lot of points, but in the first half, it was definitely not the case.
Yeah, so to start off, they had a huge opening kick return, and we have the clip. The kick return for 62 yards.
The only thing that stopped that from getting into the end zone and the return hitting his head on the goalpost was our kicker, Jake Reinholtz, who made the tackle. He was the only thing that stopped that from going for 6.
Yeah, I was glad he made the stop. They started on our 37, and when they did that, it just seemed like the momentum shifted over to Missouri State's side. They were hyped. They weren't intimidated out of the Fargo Dome. It seemed like they have something to prove, too,
Oh, yeah. I mean, this is a team that's fighting for a playoff spot like a lot of Missouri Valley teams this year. But the thing is, we held them only to a field goal on that drive. So, it felt good that our defense was able to stop them, get a quick 3-and-out to hold them to a field goal after that great return. And you felt like maybe we had the momentum back.
Yeah, they were trash talking, taunting almost the whole game. I know the refs, had some bad calls. It was just a mess. We were there. We were on the field. And behind us, I remember a fan saying, "Refs, stay out of it. Just let them play." It was crazy. But
no, it was scary to be in the end zone. I do not like it when the Fargo fans get angry. It is not fun to be in those end zones. And the thing you said about jawing, it seems like that's been happening a lot these last few weeks. I remember in the Northern Iowa game too, there was quite a bit of jawing. So I mean, boy, it seems to be really chippy out there these days in Missouri Valley games.
Yep, it's getting quite competitive. So like you said, after that kick return, the defense did a good job holding them to only a field goal. But on offense, we couldn't get anything going and ended up punting. On their next drive, they had 2 big passing plays. That one over the middle with a good hit with Dawson Weber too. Remember that?
Yeah, our passing defense, that was probably one of the worst drives that our defense has had this entire year. We got burned on passes on that drive, and they just kind of ran over us with the running game, especially with that number 0 running back. Yeah,
that's what I'm saying. After that, those 2 big passes, it seemed like our defense was shook. Like they had plays that kept working right after that. They ended up scoring, so making it 10-0 in just 6 minutes. On the next drive, we couldn't get offense going again. It was just the offense didn't seem to look bad in the beginning.
We needed something at that point. The offense hadn't gotten anything going. The defense had already given up 10 points. So, at some point we needed some momentum to go our way in this game. And we had a chance with that with Christian Watson on a pass that was downfield 46 yards. But unfortunately, it got called back because of an illegal man downfield.
Yeah, with that momentum, right? After we stopped Missouri before that on 4th and 2. We had the momentum shifting, and then we get that 60-yard passing touchdown, right? Or so we thought, but it got called back. And it just seems like our fans just got the life sucked out of them. It's like we haven't got anything going on offense. We finally get a big play, and it gets taken away from us.
And now we're forced to punt. And, it's like on a punt. Very often you don't get momentum on a punt going to the other team.
Oh, so we thought, but we did get some punt. Missouri State muffed the punt, and we got the ball back, which gave us good field position for Quincy to get a fake jet sweep into the touchdown.
So, and just like that, in 2 plays, you think we might go down 17-0, and just like that, we're only down by 3.
Yeah, it was a pretty good, move. That's why, also with the punt return and punt, we do a good job getting to the football, and Jalen Price does a good job getting those return yards.
Yeah, so special teams has been a big factor so far this year for this team, and that's why it was a little worrisome at the beginning of the game when we almost gave up that return. But special teams definitely made up for it on that play right there.
Yeah, so after that score, neither teams will score. Missouri State scored in the last minute of the second quarter, scoring a field goal, and we came back in the last seconds of that quarter, scoring, the last field goal. Hearing them making it 13.
Yeah, it was 13-10 at halftime, and both kickers had done a great job up to that point in the game. So 13-10 at halftime. And then in the second half, right away, going out with the deep pass, we finally got one of those to work to Christian Watson. But unfortunately, once again, only had to settle for a field goal because we couldn't get anything going after that.
And then on the next drive, we lost safety Dawson Weber due to a targeting hit.
It was not called initially, but eventually they reviewed it and called in. The fans were not pleased with it, but as you could tell by the hit, it definitely wasn't targeting. And after a few more drives, nothing was going for NDSU until right here, Jasir Cox, his 3rd interception in the last 2 weeks, a huge, huge momentum shifter for the Bison on that play right there.
Right, he's been having a good season. You know, that was his third interception, like you said, in just 2 games. I know in the press conference he said last season he had a chip on his shoulder because he felt like he was always a step slower to get to the ball. And, man, is he not getting to the ball and then some? You know, he just got to get the ball in. You know, I want him to get that pick 6.
Turnovers have been a big thing for our defense this year. They've really helped us out a lot. But the problem is, once again, and on this interception, we didn't get any points. We failed to convert on a 4th and 2 with a Dom Ganella run up the middle, and Missouri State got the ball right back.
Right, and that drive made me mad because the offense is creating a narrative that, you know, the defense carries the team. You know, the defense gets the stops, we get good field position, and we still can't get it in.
It seems like, unfortunately, the play calling is getting too obvious now. It's like on that 4th and 2, you kind of knew they were going to run it with the formation that they had, and it was right up the middle where literally everybody was on the Missouri State defense. There was no way they were getting that first down there.
Right.
And it seems like a lot of plays, especially the passing, too. You know, it's like either a 50-yard bomb down the field or a quick pass, like a bubble pass to the outside. There's no in between, and that's very easy for a defense to pick up.
Right, and go back to the fans. You know, you can hear us behind us. People think it's either the plays. Some people think it's Quincy, but I don't know. We will come back to that, though. You know, so the coaches ultimately decided to go with the switch with Cam Miller in the ending of the 3rd and the start of the 4th. How did you feel about that call?
And and we were talking to each other late in the 3rd quarter of that game, and I had said, you know, maybe it is time for a quarterback change. And it's nothing against Quincy, you know, maybe he was just having a rough day, but, you know, we had no momentum going on offense. We needed something to change on the offense, and I guess they had to change the quarterbacks on that one.
Yeah, but we're also talking about how, like, he wasn't getting those throws, you know, inaccurate throws, you know, players that were open. I know Kobe Johnson could have had a good one, you know, and even the fans were wanting that switch. Like Quincy, like, just not getting those passes. So that same drive, Cam Miller ends up throwing a 29-yard touchdown to Phoenix Pros. It's good to see him finally get his touchdown. You know, you see at the end of this clip, you know, it's just relief that he got one.
His first touchdown since 2019. It's been a long time coming.
Then right after that, you know, Christian Watson gets this, mosses the defender.
On a 3rd and 26, a huge play. And then later on that same drive, Miller calls Watson's number again. And a touchdown, just like that, the Bison have the lead 27-20, and they would keep it for the rest of the game.
Yeah, so that last touchdown to me is special because, you know, at the line, Cam makes an audible. He sees that Christian Watson is on a man-to-man coverage. And, you know, that play is crazy because the game's on the line. It's a 3rd and 10. You know, I know, like, the nervousness. And just imagine if you didn't get that play, you know, misjudgment. You know, is this a play that, you know, that's what NFL coaches look for?
This was the kind of game where, for your offense, at this point in time, you did not want to settle for a field goal this late in the game because you knew Missouri State had a good chance. They had enough time. They could have drove themselves down the field to get, you know, a touchdown to win the game. So you knew to get all momentum on your side, you needed a touchdown on this drive. And 2 big plays, like especially that 3rd and 26, you know, most likely we were unfortunately going to have to punt if we didn't get that to work. We got that to work, and then on the 3rd and 10, an unbelievable touchdown catch with a pass interference call, too, on the defense, by the way.
Okay, so you know I got to get messy real quick, right?
Uh-oh.
Now, do you think the reason behind not capitalizing on those big drives that we had in the game was because of Quincy Patterson not being able to get us in?
And I have been thinking about this ever since the game had ended, and I'm honestly not sure. You know, and I'm thinking it's one of 2 things. It's either Quincy doesn't quite understand the offense as much as Cam Miller did to run different plays, or the offense is just not giving him, you know, different plays to run. They're only giving him a certain amount of plays, and that's why he's been struggling so much lately, is because, you know, we run the same plays, it seems like, all the time when he's in. And like I said, I'm not sure if that's because of our offensive play callers or he doesn't know the playbook enough to run different plays.
Yeah, and I asked that because Cam Miller capitalized on those big plays at the end of the game when we needed him the most, you know, and he completed 7 out of 9 passes, right, for 112 yards, and Quincy only completed 5 passes out of 16 for only 77 yards, and he played most of the games.
However, we were running plays with Cam that we would never have run with Quincy in this game. I mean, there were a lot of 10 to 15-yard quick passes, or the ones up the sideline there with one-on-one coverage. I mean, a lot of those plays we never ran with Quincy, and, you know, it makes me wonder, is it because they don't trust Quincy to make those throws, or is it because, you know, they just don't want to run those plays, and which would seem silly to me because they work, obviously.
So you think it's like the trust level with the plays that they gave Cam with Quincy?
I mean, that might be it, honestly. You know, it's hard to say right now, you know, one way or another because, you don't know who exactly is in charge for that, but it could be either or.
Yeah, and there's also a big question mark on who they will start for the next game, too. How do you feel about that?
And people had been asking Matt Entz about this all week, and he's getting as frustrated as I would be if they would ask me about it over and over. It's a thing that you don't know. You really don't. You don't want to say right away in the week. You want to have, a week to practice to see who is more ready for this game. And there may be a quarterback, one or two, that we like more against Indiana State for this weekend.
And also, you don't know if he just had a bad game. You can't just skip over someone just because they had one game. Because that's the case. Cam could also have a bad game.
And like I said, I would love to see Quincy with the playbook more opened up for him. I would love to see what he could do with some of those other passing plays that Cam had, because it seems like we don't run those with Quincy very often. The only game I can remember us running any different types of passes with Quincy was the Towson game, where we had quite a few good passes in that game.
Yep, so on offense, we had a total of 189 passing yards for 2 touchdowns, and on the ground, we only had 154 rushing yards for 1 touchdown. I really want those rushing yards to go back up. I love the excitement when Dom Ganella was on his A game, and the different running backs mixed in. We don't even see Jaylee Bussey that much. How do you feel about it seems like the ground game is just decreasing almost each week.
I think it's getting more predictable, unfortunately, and I've been mentioning, and I'm sorry about being a dead horse here, but I've mentioned it every week. The play calling is getting way too predictable, unfortunately, especially on runs, because they know when the runs are coming, they know where they're coming from, and we also don't seem to be running the same type of runs. You know what we don't do anymore? We don't pound the ball with Hunter Lukey anymore like we used to. That worked very well in a lot of games, and maybe we couldn't do it this week because we were kind of playing from behind late, but at the same time, we don't seem to run the kind of play, the running plays that worked early in the season. We just run the kind of same running plays that we've ran these last few weeks that haven't really gotten us the big plays.
Yeah. What were some individual stats on the offense?
So receiving stats, Christian Watson led the day for receiving with 4 receptions for 106 yards and a TD. Phoenix Sproles was second best with 3 receptions for 46 yards and a touchdown. And then Zach Mathis was our third leading receiver with 1 reception for 17 yards. Now, this is where it gets really frustrating, the rushing stats. 2 of our top 3 rushers were quarterbacks. Think about that for a second. Quincy Patterson led the rushing again. This is the 4th or 5th week in a row he's done that?
Yep.
8 rushes for 56 yards and a TD. Coey Johnson, our only actual running back on this list, 4 rushes for 23 yards. A leading running back like that, that's just not great. And then Cam Miller had 7 rushes for 23 yards as well. So that's just got to make you a little worried, the fact that our running backs are not generating any rushing yards at all.
Yep, and on defense, on a high note, we recorded 5 sacks and 1 interception. What were some individual stats on the defense?
So the leading tacklers for the defense, Michael Tutsi and Cole Wisniewski led in tackles with 8, and then Dawson Weber had 7, and that was only in, pretty much only 1 half for him.
Yep.
Brayton Thomas, Jasir Cox, Logan McCormick, Lane Tucker, and Michael Tutsi accounted for the 5 sacks that we had. This is the 3rd week in the row the defense has had 5 sacks, 15 sacks in the last 3 games. That is amazing for stats on defense. How many times you get to the quarterback. And Matt Entz mentioned that, they could have gotten to him at least 9 or 10 times. That quarterback was very elusive. And then Jasir Cox also had that crucial interception in the 3rd quarter, his 3rd in the last 2 games.
Yeah, like I was mentioning in past episodes, I said we have some dogs on the D-line. And like I said, it's not just one, it's multiple guys. So, I'm not surprised that they're averaging, 5 sacks in the past 3 or so games. But NDSU now ranks 2nd in the FCS, went up 1, with Sam Houston taking that number 1 spot because ultimately they won the championship.
We jumped up to 2nd because 2nd-ranked Eastern Washington lost at home last week to unranked Weber State, so that's how we moved up to 2nd.
Yep. And we are now 7-0. Their next game is tomorrow at 2:30 against Indiana State at the Fargo Dome. For the Trees Bowl, Indiana State is 4-4, so they're not doing so good.
Yeah, and they are coming off a victory against Youngstown State, but at the same time, they have not been very impressive in most of their other games. So I'm going to go that NDSU shuts them out 31-0.
Okay.
I feel like the defense is absolutely going to crush them. Hey, it's Code Green. We're having Code Green uniforms. It stands for the defense. I think the defense forces a shutout.
Okay. I'm predicting a blowout victory also, but I'm kind of thinking 42-7. That's what I'm thinking. We got to tune into that game. But, we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we'll get into soccer and volleyball. Stay tuned.
There are so many great things to experience at NDSU. It's hard to pick one, but my favorite is
the people. They make it such a warm place. The Bison aren't just across the country. They're across the globe.
It's the perfect distance from home. The faculty are our biggest cheerleaders. Hands-on research experience. The affordable tuition.
All the opportunities to stay active on campus.
real-world learning experiences.
Once I got on campus, it felt like home.
The NDSU bookstore has everything you need to show off your Bison pride. The bookstore can have you sporting green and gold wherever you go. It offers many different brands, sizes, styles, and selection so that you find exactly what you're looking for. Shop the NDSU bookstore and show your spirit today.
No kid deserves to go hungry, but try as they might, not every family can afford to put food on the table every day. That's why the Great Plains Food Bank and their partner agencies work every day to bring food to our hungry neighbors. Every dollar donated can provide 4 meals for those in need. Go to greatplainsfoodbank.org and donate today so no kid in North Dakota ever has to go hungry.
There are so many great things to experience at NDSU. It's hard to pick one, but my favorite is
The people, they make it such a warm place. The Bison aren't just across the country, they're across the globe.
It's the perfect distance from home. The faculty are our biggest cheerleaders. Hands-on research experience. The affordable tuition.
All the opportunities to stay active on campus.
Real-world learning experiences.
Once I got on campus, it felt like home.
Thank you for tuning in. We're going to get into soccer and volleyball. So this previous Sunday, they played Omaha at home. This previous Friday, they played Omaha at home and lost 4-0. We're at the game. This game was cold. And, after that first goal, it just seemed like they lost hope. And Omaha definitely came to play.
It was definitely unfortunate. It was rough to see. Omaha was constantly being NDSU to the balls, and they just flat out overpowered the team. Their number 19, boy, she was getting the ball so fast. She was roughing up our players, and, there was nothing we could do, unfortunately.
So in the first half, we only had 1 shot to their 5, and they scored their first goal in the 24th minute. So that one was unlucky because it hit the top of the bar and it got just inside the line. I was even saying it's no goal, but they ultimately stopped the gameplay and they gave them the goal. And then they scored again in the 39th minute to end the first half.
And then in the second half, we actually outshotted them. We had 5 shots to their 3, but they scored 2 of those 3 goals. Denver scored their second goal, or their goal in the 65th minute. Which that was kind of like the first one. Bounced off the top and went in, but this one was a little more obvious than the first one.
Yep.
And then they scored their last goal in the 71st minute to end the game. So it was just unfortunate. We had more shots on the goal than them, but I don't know what happened. What happened really with the goaltending. They scored 2 out of those 3 shots in the second half.
Yep. And they came back on Sunday to play Denver, and unfortunately lost 4-0 again. This loss wasn't surprising though, because Denver is a really good team. They won the chip last season, and they came into the game 10-5.
Yeah, and they were also riding a 6-game winning streak, and they hadn't lost a conference game yet.
Yep. In the first half, Denver had 15 shots, and we only had 1. When teams have 15 shots, that's, the more percentage.
15 times the shots, 15 times more of a chance to win the game.
Win the game, exactly, to score a goal. So, they quickly scored in the 13th minute. And then scored a minute right after that. So already 2 down, and then they scored again 5 minutes after that goal. So it was just bad. And I remember Jess Hanley saying in the interview that we interviewed her, she said, when we get scored on, we don't know how to shake back. And these 2 previous games, just shows that. Not
just these 2 previous games, the games before that too, the South Dakota State game, the South Dakota games where we lost 3-0 and 5-0. It's really unfortunately shown a lot these last few weeks.
Yep. So Brooklyn Dew moved up into a tie for 10th all-time games played for NDSU. So that's on a good note. Ultimately, the loss against Denver eliminates the Bison from the Summit League tournament contention. So we're out of it.
And it was unfortunate. I mean, we had a rough start to the conference season, but then we rattled off 2 of 3 straight wins, or 2 of 3 wins in the middle of the season against Oral Roberts and North Dakota. So you thought maybe we would have a better ending to the season. Unfortunately, after the win against North Dakota, it just all went downhill after that.
Yep. So they are now 2-11 and 2-11-1, and they play Western Illinois at 3 p.m. in Macomb, Illinois. Today. Western Illinois is 9-6-1. I think this game is going to be tough because they beat USD and we got killed by them 2 weekends ago. So, it's not looking good for us.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think it'll be a better defensive matchup in this game, but I still think Western Illinois wins the game 1-0.
Yeah, and then they play again on Sunday against St. Thomas. Now, St. Thomas is 2-11-2, so we should be able to win this game. I'm thinking at least a 1-1 tie. I know, the surprising thing about them, they beat Omaha this past Saturday 1-0, and we just got killed by them. So I don't know if that's a fluke, but I'm thinking a 1-1 tie, if not a 1-0 victory by us.
Well, I mean, every game is a new one, especially in any sport, but I think we end the year on a fantastic note. We get a win to end the year. I say we win 2-1 over St. Thomas.
Okay. Moving to volleyball, this previous Saturday, they faced Kansas City and got swept. Got swept 3-0. I'm not surprising. We knew this was going to be a tough battle. We hoped for at least a tie, but unfortunately it didn't happen. But these girls didn't go down easy in the sets. In the first set, it was 25-22. In the second set, it was 25-20. In the third set, it was 25-22.
Yeah, and they also had a game against Oral Roberts as well, where they unfortunately lost 3-0 as well. So, I mean, it was just a rough couple of days there for the team. And then some of the individual kill stats for those games. The Oral Roberts series, Sarah Tanchin and Allie Hinsey tied for the lead in kills. They had 14, and then Michelle Glover had 8. And then for the Kansas City series, Sarah Tanchin had 13, Allie Hinsey had 10, and Kirsten Tidd had 8. So yeah, it was just not exactly preferable 2 games there.
Yep, and then on Thursday, yesterday, they played St. Thomas and swept them 3-0. It was a Pack the Pink night at the Benson Bunker Fieldhouse to show awareness to individuals affected by breast cancer. I'm not surprised about this one because we swept them earlier this month already. In the first set, we led 25-15. In the second set, we led 25-12. In the third set, we led 25-22. What were some individual stats of that game if you have them?
So the kill stats for the kill leaders for this game, it's actually a 3-way tie for the top. All 3 of these girls had 9, but one, Allie Hinsey, Alexis Bowling, and then Maggie Steffen, whose name we really hadn't mentioned much this year. She ties for the lead in kills for this series. And, we have, for the volleyball team, we have games like this where we just come out and dominate teams, no matter how good they are. And it's a shame we can't put it out there on a consistent basis because there are some times where we get beat by teams who you don't expect us to lose to, unfortunately. But the talent is there. There is no doubt about that.
Yep, so they are now 10-14. They play Western Illinois tomorrow at 11 a.m. at home. Western Illinois is 4-19 so far this season. We played them in late September and won 3-2. So I think we should get a win 3-1 this match. That's my prediction.
Yeah, I predict we're going to win in 5 sets, though. I predict 3-2.
Okay. So we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we'll get into men's golf and former players. Stay tuned. Okay, so...
Founded in 1985, the Missouri Valley Football Conference has established a tradition of FCS football excellence. Competing at the highest level of NCAA Division I, student athletes at its 10 institutions demonstrate character, passion, and integrity as they grow as a student, an athlete, and a citizen. The Missouri Valley Football Conference, where leaders are shaped and champions are forged.
No kid deserves to go hungry, but try as they might, not every family can afford to put food on the table every day. That's why the Great Plains Food Bank and their partner agencies work every day to bring food to our hungry neighbors. Every dollar donated can provide 4 meals for those in need. Go to greatplainsfoodbank.org and donate today so no kid in North Dakota ever has to go hungry.
Welcome back. And now we're going to get into men's golf and former NDSU football players.
Yep.
So, men's golf, they had a match in the Odu Calamaric tournament on Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday. The men's team placed 6 out of 17 schools, which is pretty good. Brock Winter finished a tie for 9th overall. He improved 16 places in the final day of the tournament, so he was balling out. And then Nate Adams, who tied with Winter for 9th place, also moving up 11 places on the final day.
Gavin Cronkite moved up from 38th at the beginning of the last day to finish in 28th place, so he moved up 10 spots. Ian Simonish had a birdie on the final hole to move up 2 spots on the day to be 12th overall. And then Jack Johnson started the last day in 54th place and ended up finishing the day in a tie for 47th. So it seems like they all improved on that last day.
Yep, so the Bison heads into winter break. The spring 2022 schedule has not been announced yet, so we'll have to stay tuned for that. So now we can get into former players. So starting with rookie Trey Lance, drafted 3rd overall, to the San Francisco 49ers. So far this season, he has 3 touchdowns for 354 yards and 1 interception. So 2 weeks ago, he suffered a knee sprain and is still out. I know we were talking about this last week. It was kind of a Bison reunion because they played against the Colts, which was Carson Wentz's quarterback for that team. So unfortunately, Trey Lance couldn't play.
He is starting to practice though again, so it looks like he may be back pretty soon. But even then, he's still probably not going to be the starter now that Jimmy Garoppolo is healthy once again. But he still will always be there for them.
Yep.
Carson Wentz, meanwhile, for the Colts, he's been having an on and off year. He was injured to start the year with a foot injury. Then he sprained both ankles on the same play in a game. And recently against the 49ers, didn't exactly have himself the greatest game. Had one of the strangest interceptions I've probably ever seen where he tried shoveling it forward and it went straight to a 49ers player. So, it's been an on and off year for them, but they have been winning some games, and they are catching up to the Titans for the AFC South lead right now. Also, other players in the NFL right now, Billy Turner for my Green Bay Packers. He has started every single offensive snap this year, and a very depleted offensive line, and he has done a great job at the right tackle position this year. Chris Board, he has been with the Ravens defense so far this year, a decent Ravens defense who didn't have themselves the greatest week last weekend against the Bengals, unfortunately, but he's been playing really well. He's had a few defensive snaps here and there and registered 1 tackle last week against the Bengals. Dylan Reduns, who just got drafted this year by the Titans, he actually has been getting more offensive snaps this year, especially last week. He almost played half of the offensive snaps, and he registered not exactly a stat you want as an offensive lineman, but his first career tackle in the 3rd quarter off of an interception that was thrown by Ryan Tannehill. So, yeah, not exactly a stat you want, but at least it's something. Jasir Cox gets drafted this year by the Dallas Cowboys, your Dallas Cowboys.
Yeah, how about the Cowboys?
He's had a couple of tackles this season, including one on Daniel Jones a few weeks ago that gave Jones a concussion and took him out of the game. Yep. So he's been mostly special teams, but he has played a few defensive snaps this year. Joe Haig, he got Super Bowl champion last year with the Buccaneers. He's played with the Steelers this year and has played primarily backup, but he did play a few offensive starting snaps in the Sunday night game a few weeks ago against Seattle when their starting right tackle was out of the game. Derek Tuska, he was with the Broncos last year, just got picked up by the Steelers this year, and has been playing special team snaps. He's got 3 tackles so far this year. Easton Stick, still the backup quarterback for the Chargers, but still on the team, so that is definitely something right there. Ben Ellison, this is a big one for a lot of fans out there, I'm sure. Got picked up by the Vikings this year after being on the Jaguars last year. Doesn't have any catches this year yet, but he has been a very good blocking tight end for them this year. And then finally, Zach Johnson is on the Arizona Cardinals practice squad as an offensive lineman.
Yep, so those former, Bison players look like they're doing pretty good. So thank you for tuning in into today's show. Make sure you tune in next week on Friday at the same time. Stay tuned. Go Bison. Oh, I cannot.